Okay. So when you picture Bruce Lee, right, it's instantly the martial arts, the intensity on screen.
Absolutely, that fierce focus.
But then you see this photo, him smiling, holding a trophy for cha-cha dancing.
Yeah, 1958, Hong Kong Ground Colony Cha-Cha champion.
It's
Unexpected.
totally unexpected. And it makes you think, doesn't it? There's got to be more to the story.
Definitely. That's what we're doing today, right?
Yeah.
A real deep dive into those early years.
Exactly. We're going back Hong Kong, the 1940s, the 50s. Forget the global icon for a minute.
Let's look at the kid growing up there.
Yeah. Think about Hong Kong then. British colony, post-war buzz, a real mix of cultures.
Mm-hmm. And his family background adds another layer. His dad, Li Hoi Xuan, a famous Cantonese opera star.
So you've got that showbiz glamour on one side.
But then there's the reality of the streets. It wasn't all smooth sailing.
Not at all. So our mission really is to see how all these pieces, family, films, street life, even dancing, how they all came together.
How they forged the Bruce Lee, we think we know. It's easy to just focus on the legend, but the making of the man, that's fascinating.
It really is. So let's start at the very beginning. He wasn't born in Hong Kong, actually.
Right. San Francisco, Chinatown, November 1940, Year of the Dragon, which is fitting.
So fitting. His parents were touring the U.S. with the opera. His given name was Lee Junfan.
And Bruce came from a nurse at the hospital, apparently, and it just stuck.
Just stuck. Amazing. But they weren't in the States for long.
No. Back to Hong Kong when he was only about 3 months old. Settled in Kowloon, 218 Nathan Road.
And straight into, well, a pretty intense time. World War II, the Japanese occupation, that would have marked his really early childhood.
Absolutely. Imagine being a toddler during that period. That sense of uncertainty, maybe even fear.
Yeah.
It must leave an imprint.
And then there's his Chinese stage name, Li Shu Long.
Little Dragon. Seems almost like destiny looking back.
It really does. And speaking of destiny, the stage was practically in his blood.
Because of his father, yeah. He was literally on set from infancy.
I read he had an uncredited role in Golden Gate Girl when he was just 3 months old.
Incredible. Talk about starting early.
And then by age 7, he's actually co-starring with his dad in The Kid,
Yeah.
playing Kid Chung.
Right, and he kept acting. By the time he was 18, he'd been in something like 20 films.
Wow, 20 films, often playing these scrappy street kids, right, or sort of juvenile delinquents.
Yeah, films like The Birth of Mankind or My Son A. Chang.
Mm-hmm.
That was a popular genre in the post-war Cantonese film industry. Melodramas, often with these kinds of characters.
So he was learning performance, storytelling, how to hold the screen basically from childhood.
Exactly. It wasn't just memorizing lines, it was absorbing the whole craft. A really unique apprenticeship, you could say.
But wasn't just acting school. There was another side to his education.
The streets.
Yeah, the streets. He went to a good school, LaSalle College, quite prestigious.
Mm-hmm.
But he was also running with a gang, the Junction Street 8 Tigers.
And this wasn't just kids messing about, was it? We're talking about real danger.
Apparently so. Chains, knives, even pens with hidden blades. He admitted later, like in the 60s, that he used to go looking for fights.
That's a stark contrast, isn't it? The disciplined school environment and then this raw, aggressive street life.
It really is. It speaks to maybe a restlessness in him, a need to prove himself outside the studio.
Could be. And that willingness to confront things head on, that definitely seems like a core part of his character early on.
And that led to a pretty crucial moment, didn't it, around age 13?
Yeah, the story goes he got beaten up pretty badly by someone who knew Kung Fu.
Came home with a black eye, feeling humiliated, I imagine.
That kind of defeat can be a powerful motivator. He asked his mother if he could learn martial arts.
And she said yes. Which brings us to Ip Man.
The legendary Ip Man. 1954, Bruce starts learning Wing Chun.
And Wing Chun. It's a very specific style, isn't it? Close quarters.
Very practical for the kind of fights he might have encountered. Efficient, direct, suited for street brawls, really.
So he starts training, working with guys like Wang Shenlong and William Chung, senior students there.
But it wasn't straightforward. There was resistance.
Because of his background, his mother, Grace Ho, had mixed heritage, part English.
Exactly. And back then, in some traditional martial arts circles, teaching non-Chinese was frowned upon. There was prejudice.
But Ip Man saw something in him.
Seems so. He decided to teach Bruce privately. Made a conscious choice to look past that bias.
That's significant, both for Bruce and maybe for Ip Man's legacy, too.
Definitely. And perhaps that experience of being seen as an outsider even within the martial arts world fueled Bruce's later drive to break down barriers.
It makes sense. Okay, so we have the budding film star, the street fighter, the dedicated Wing Chun student.
And the Chanjiao champion?
Right. We can't forget the dancing. Starts at 14. Why? To impress a girl, apparently.
Classic teenage move. But he didn't just dabble, did he?
No way. He got serious.
Well,
Really serious. Practiced intensely. They say he carried a little card with over 100 dance steps written on it.
wow. That level of dedication.
And it paid off. Wins the Hong Kong Crown Colony Cha-Cha Championship in 1958, age 18.
It's easy to laugh it off as just a quirky anecdote, but think about the skills involved.
Yeah. Like what?
Well, balance, agility, intricate footwork, rhythm, timing. These are all crucial for martial arts too.
Ah, good point. You can see how that grace and control could translate.
Absolutely. It probably fed directly into his fluidity and movement later on.
Oh.
He even taught dancing for money when he first went to the U.S.
No kidding. Resourceful.
Very.
Okay, so he's got these skills, acting, fighting, dancing, but the trouble didn't just disappear.
No, the street fights kept happening. More run-ins with the police.
Even after winning a school's boxing tournament in 58, he beat the reigning champ, Gary Elms.
Yeah, it seems like the boxing win didn't quite clean up his reputation. There was an incident, shoplifting involved his gang.
Well, Chung talks about that, right? It sounds like the police basically gave him an ultimatum.
Pretty much. That, combined with his parents obviously being worried sick.
Led to the big move, San Francisco, 1959, just 18 years old.
Sent off with $100. Not exactly a hero's send-off, more like damage control.
Yeah, getting him out before things got really serious. But looking back, Hong Kong had already put its stamp all over him.
Oh, completely. Think about the city itself. That post-war energy, colonial rule, refugees coming in. A real pressure cooker.
A vibrant mix, though. Cantonese opera, the film industry buzzing, martial arts everywhere.
And his personal experience mirrored that contrast. Relative affluence at home, nice apartment, maids, a chauffeur.
But then the pull of the streets, the gangs, the fights. He lived both sides.
That energy, that resilience you saw in Hong Kong, it feels like it got into his veins, fueled his drive.
And maybe that mixed heritage thing played a part too, feeling like he had to prove himself even more.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Plus those very early years under Japanese occupation, even if he didn't consciously remember it all, that kind of collective hardship shapes a place and its people, builds a certain toughness.
It really seems like all those threads, the acting, the fighting, the dancing, the city itself, they all wove together.
Yeah, they weren't separate boxes. They were all feeding into the person he was becoming, laying the groundwork for his philosophy later on.
Like Jeet Kune Do, adapting, being like water.
Exactly. That comes from experiencing different styles, different ways of moving, different pressures. And his film background taught him how to project, how to inspire.
You can almost see the seeds being planted for his huge comeback to Hong Kong cinema in '71 with The Big Boss.
It's like the first act of his life set the stage perfectly for the second. The discipline from dance, the realism from street fights, the performance skills from acting, it all converged.
It's also important we clear up some myths, you know.
Definitely. Like the idea he was just this perfect kid.
Right. He was complex, a bit of a punk by his own account, got into real trouble. That's why he was sent to the U.S.
And the myth about being Ip Man's absolute favorite.
Yeah, he was talented, no doubt, but controversial because of his ancestry. A man taught him privately, but maybe not quite the chosen one story some tell.
And the idea he was just born a martial arts genius.
It ignores the sheer hard work, doesn't it? Years of practice. Tai Chi first, then Wing Chun from 13. Relentless dedication.
Matthew Pauly's biography really digs into a lot of this, using interviews, records. It paints a more human picture.
Which is way more interesting, I think. His achievements mean more when you know the struggle.
Absolutely. It makes his story relatable in a way, a story of resilience.
Yeah, taking challenges and turning them into fuel. If you feel stuck or underestimated, his early life is pretty inspiring.
Think about it. Film star, dance champ, boxing champ, all by 18, alongside all the other chaos.
He was definitely an overachiever, even then.
It really encourages you, doesn't it, to look at your own life. The different bits, the skills you pick up, maybe things that seem unrelated.
How they might actually be building towards something unique.
Exactly. His life shows how those diverse experiences can create something incredibly powerful.
And Hong Kong. It was his first real stage. The rooftops where he practiced, the movie theaters, that's where it all started.
His proving grounds, which made his return in 1971 so powerful. coming back as a global star to the place that made him.
And the city still remembers him. The statues, museum exhibits. Wasn't there a hotel he stayed at that's like a mini museum now?
Yeah, the Longhua Hotel. And places connected to his films, like the Louis de Camon Garden in Macau,
Hmm.
even though his actual childhood home is gone.
His legacy there is solid. Indestructible, really.
It's that bond between the man and the city. Hong Kong gave him the challenges and the opportunities. It shaped him.
So, wrapping it up, Bruce Lee's Hong Kong years, they were this intense, complicated mix.
Privilege and street fights, yeah.
Yeah.
Art and discipline. Social hurdles and personal wins.
It wasn't just background noise, it was the furnace where he was forged.
Mm-hmm. And it makes you think for yourself, right? What seemingly odd combinations in your own life, your own experiences.
Might be shaping your future in ways you don't expect. What connections haven't you seen yet?
That's a good question to ponder.
Because Bruce Lee's story really reminds you, doesn't it? Even icons have these messy, formative, crucial beginnings. His whole global impact started right there, with the unique beat and the tough lessons of his Hong Kong childhood.